1. It all started a few years ago when I began renovating my family's farm, which I had inherited. Before this, we had always been on good terms. We even sold them some land over a decade ago with no issues. However, during my renovation, I faced a long and frustrating planning process that dragged on for quite a while. Once I finally secured planning permission, I was shocked to receive a list of complaints about my various applications. To my surprise, they had come from these very neighbors. This was especially hurtful because throughout the process, I had shared my plans with them, and they had seemed supportive, saying things like, "Wow, I can't wait to see it," and appearing happy about me restoring the old, dilapidated farmhouse. In reality, they had been secretly taking photos from my back garden and submitting complaints behind my back. When I initially discussed the complaints with them, before realizing it was them, they acted astonished, saying things like, the complainers were jealous and that some people like sticking their noses into things that don't concern them. After discovering the truth, I decided to say nothing. As far as I know, they don't realize I am aware it was them. And that gives you power. At around the same time, they also complained about 2 vans parked in my field, claiming they were an eyesore, even though they weren't visible unless you walked up my driveway. I ignored this too, then came further complaints. Reports about my goats claiming they weren't correctly registered or tagged. The constant harassment wore me down and I eventually got rid of them. A complaint about a blocked gutter allegedly sending water onto the road, except it turned out to be the council's issue, not mine. Various other minor and petty complaints. I never confronted them because I didn't want ongoing hostility every time we crossed paths. Recently, my mother was walking her well-behaved and quiet dogs in one of my fields, which she does on a regular basis at 9:30 a.m. on a Wednesday and Sunday, only for the neighbor to pop his head over the 6-foot boundary hedge between me and the road and start shouting at her. He told her she can't walk the dogs there, and that he moved here for a quiet life. Well, you should try living one then. And that he was calling the police and the RSPCA. 2 days later, an animal welfare officer showed up, but after a brief chat, they found no issues. That incident really angered me, and I meant to confront him, but I haven't bumped into him yet. Ironically, he has multiple dogs that bark all day while he's at work, as well as exotic birds that are constantly noisy. Not that it bothers me, as they're a significant distance away and don't even adjoin my property. Now I've received a letter from planning because they've made yet another complaint. This time about me rebuilding my stable, which was damaged in a storm and partially collapsed years ago. I've only just gotten around to fixing it because all my funds have been going into the house renovation. The stable is barely visible. You can only catch a glimpse of it from a certain spot on my driveway. It doesn't affect them in the slightest, so they're clearly just being difficult for the sake of it. I've never done anything to them, and I think this stems from jealousy. I believe they had hoped to buy the farm off me cheaply when I inherited it. I think that's probably it. But the land has been in my family for quite literally centuries, and I have no intention of selling. I've tried to keep the peace and avoid unnecessary conflict, but I think I've been too accommodating. Okay, good, you're almost there. The time has come for me to confront them and ask what their problem is. What's the best way to handle this situation? Any advice is welcome. Hellfreezer's note, it's very important that you stay on the side of the law here. So as they're making complaints about you, which are completely baseless, let them keep doing that. It's going to come to nothing. I'm so sorry you felt you had to give up your goats, but please do get another couple of goats, and of course make sure they're properly registered and tagged, as is correct. Although you sound like a responsible person, so I'm sure you would have done that anyway. Might be worth placing a call to get someone to do a welfare check on their animals. Oftentimes these kind of people don't practice what they preach. You should be able to do that anonymously. However, I do see from the comments that you don't want to start a cycle of reporting each other. That is sensible, and it's a very mature way to look at it. I won't go into too many details about other things you said in the comments, as I want to make sure you maintain a degree of anonymity. But you do have some good ideas, and I think are definitely worth putting into action. As always, make sure you stay on the right side of the law, and ultimately your neighbor will get a reputation for being a nuisance. And even if they are complaining, they'll eventually stop taking them seriously. 2. My house was in pretty bad shape, so I had to move into an apartment. It is a renovated nursing and care facility turned apartments, so cute and looks like something in the city. But the new neighbors are making me lose my sanity. I believe they are a foreign couple, but their race is not important. I didn't even know their names until my landlord told me. They pretend not to understand English, but they speak perfectly over their blaring TV. It all started with the ear-shattering snoring from 9:30 p.m. to 9 a.m. It's even disrupting trying to watch TV in the living room furthest from their apartment due to snoring. 9 a.m., 1800s piano, church music at full blast, and screaming Bible devotionals also in perfect English. Then, oh boy, TV time. All these buildings are under renovations due to being abandoned for 10 plus years. It's funny, when management shows up to work, down goes the TV volume. They are very aware they are doing wrong. I only have 2 other neighbors. We have all complained. I know snoring is a medical condition, but it's disrupting everyone. The landlord has tried hard to handle it. They are super frustrated with them as well due to their other problems and flat-out ridiculous demands. After each complaint, only 2 so far from me, the couple gave us 1 day of silence and somehow 1 night of no snoring. Then it's 10 times worse. We can hear them waking up from their own snoring, then they move up against a different neighbor's wall that has also complained. They have no furniture, just cots, camping chairs, and a TV against a wall. Also, our floors are concrete, so everything echoes from their place with nothing to dampen the sound. So disgusting. I can hear them pee and crap because the echoes are so bad. I have another neighbor against my back wall, but he has real furniture, rugs, and I can hardly hear him. No bathroom noises despite being closer than nightmare neighbors. My landlord said the woman is very vindictive and likes to take revenge at the drop of a hat. It's becoming psychological torture. 3 weeks of pretty much no sleep, and the woman laughs about it. It's insane. You can't really call the cops either. Oh, officer, they're playing church hymns at full blast and snoring all night. Hellfreezer's note, where you live will definitely have a noise ordinance if they're violating that ordinance. With the music, not so much with the snoring. You won't be able to do much about that. You can call the police, because that's breaking the law. I also have a rare connective tissue disorder and severe POTS. I keep track of a morning readiness score every day and have my weekly average sent to my doctor. I basically have a point system so I don't end up in the hospital. Ideally, it needs to be around 82 average to feel okay. It has gone down to 54 average. The neighbor's BS is literally killing me and going to send me to the ER. Moving is not an option. I live in a small town, lucky to even get this apartment. Yes, I've tried white noise. TV fan is too loud and vibrating to block out. I can't wear earbuds or bands all night, makes my ears echo all day. I also have super stretchy collagen that makes direct noise uncomfortable. Now it's the weekend, so no management or anyone around to literally hear the ear assault blasting torture as I write this. I'm not vindictive, but I'm plotting revenge if I can figure out a way to get away with it. Do not do that. Also, anyone have better suggestions besides revenge? Oh, and there is a donation place here in town that gives out free furniture, rugs, clothes, food. It has been suggested to them, but they won't look into it. The landlord is trying to build enough complaints and excuses to legally evict, but something has to give in the meantime. Hellfreezer's note, you really just need to keep complaining. Your landlord's seemingly trying to get them out, because it can't be good for them to have to deal with all these complaints as well. I definitely suggest, as I mentioned earlier, you do call the police if they're making noise after a certain time at night. I'm not sure what the cutoff is where you live. Here it's about 11 p.m, I think. It's later at certain times of the year. Christmas, New Year, it tends to be later. But yeah, if they're making noise that late, definitely call the police. In fact, if your other neighbors are under the impression they can't call the police either, inform them that they in fact can and encourage them to do so. It'll help your landlord as well if there's enough official complaints and police reports against them when it comes time to evict them for the way they're treating the place. Best of luck with it, and I hope you get a proper resolution soon and a good night's sleep. 3. A little backstory. In the summer of 2019, I bought my first house, and was warned to keep a lookout for my neighbors from practically everyone on the block. I was told they were eccentric. I would consider myself an easygoing person who keeps to himself, so I didn't see any issue with them. At the time I moved in, they had an old wooden fence that was falling apart between our backyards. After a windy storm one day, it fell down. I have a dog and expressed concern and consideration about him running into other yards, and told them I would replace the fence since I was already putting one up on the opposite side of the property. They asked me what kind of fence I was looking at, and told them white vinyl. The wife screamed out loud, "Oh no, I hate white vinyl." This being one of our first conversations. I immediately saw what everyone on the block was warning me about. Good news, you don't really need her permission, providing it's on your property, so put that fence up. They offered to replace the fence themselves since it was theirs anyway, and I had no issue with waiting, so I didn't think it was a big deal. We agreed on that, they thanked me for being so reasonable, and I only put up the fence on the opposite side of my property. I also decided to cover the fence with a line of evergreen trees so they would barely see the white vinyl on the opposite side. As life went on, I would catch them outside and politely ask how the fence situation was going, since it was wide open between our properties. The wife would tell me their son-in-law was coming out to set up the fence next month or sometime soon, in the future. As time went on and seasons changed, she came up with new excuses for the delay. Her son-in-law got very sick. Her son-in-law's wife got hit by a car. So, her daughter? Another family member got their arm bitten off by a shark. Oh, that poor shark. Yes, she really said that, and we live in the Midwest. Flash forward 3 years later. I finally decided enough was enough. I contacted a company and put in an order for a new fence. Yay! The next time I saw my neighbors outside, I told them I had decided to put up the fence. That's when the theatrics really started. She told me that I could not do that because she could not look at an ugly white vinyl fence for the rest of her life. I told her I understood her frustration, but I gave them 3 years as they promised over and over they would fix the fence themselves, and they had yet to do anything about it. After getting all the necessary paperwork from the village, we finally arrived to installation day. The installation happened on a weekend I was out of town for a wedding. I had my mother stay the weekend in case there were any issues. My neighbor stalled the installation the whole weekend by threatening the builders and calling the village and the inspectors. Both the village and the inspectors came out numerous times and explained to my neighbors that they approved the permits themselves, and all construction was on my property. At this point, I knew there was no more to the story than just them hating a vinyl fence. As the workers started to dig holes for the fence, we discovered that they had their downspout pipe buried underground on my side of the property, right where the fence was going to go. The pipe led to a creek that stretches behind our houses on the block, which seemed to be dumping God knows what into it. After talking with the village, they told me I could do whatever I wanted on my property, so I told my neighbors they had to redirect their pipe because it was in the way of where the fence post was going to go. I explained to them that it would be a simple fix, and if they wanted, I could do it for them. They told me that it wouldn't be a simple fix, that I was a bad person and to go to hell. At this point, I decided to cut the pipe on my property and clog it with concrete to avoid the flooding. After that, they called the inspector out again, who told them everything I did was okay since it was on my property, and that they needed to stop contacting him or he will fine them for illegal dumping. It is so nice to find these county officials who actually know how to do their jobs. She grabbed the inspector's arm and yelled that they couldn't do this to them, that her mother just died and they were harassing her. Don't really see what one's got to do with the other. After the inspector broke free from her, he walked over to my house visibly shaken up from the interaction and told me nothing is wrong and if they continue to be an issue to contact him. After the fence went up, there seemed to be no issues for a while. Flash forward to another year later. My neighbors decided to move in a new family member into their house. Her dead mother. Okay, I would contact the inspectors for that. You can't be keeping rotting corpses in a suburban area. No. I instantly knew I was dealing with unstable people. To lie about a family member dying to prove a point? Wild! They also decided to redirect their pipe to shoot right onto my property. During heavy rains, my yard now floods and is starting to kill my plants and trees. I know there would be no point to try and have a conversation with them, since they made it clear they are mad at me, telling me I'm a bad person every time they see me outside, and who are cutting up my plants when I'm at work. I have contacted the village, and they seem to be giving me the runaround so that they wouldn't have to deal with them anymore either. And I don't really know what else to do. Anyone have any ideas? Cameras! Get cameras on your property so that if they're coming onto your property and damaging your plants and such, that you know it's definitely them. Also, you probably want to catch evidence that the downpipe is ejecting onto your property. That definitely sounds like some sort of a violation. I don't even need to look at the rules and ordinances of where you live to know that's a violation. I dare say if you can finally get the inspectors to come out and take a look at it, the neighbours will be getting some sort of fine. You're trying to be reasonable while dealing with unreasonable people, and there's really no point. So just protect yourself, make sure you know what the rules are, and report them as much as you have to. In fact, if you showed up in person instead of phone calls, they might have to deal with you. 4. Hi everyone, I'm looking to vent, and I hope you'll allow me my hatred for my next-door neighbours. They moved next door to us in 2018. We live in a semi-detached house. Mum, Dad, and 2 very young children. Already I was anticipating high levels of noise, but good God, they are loud. Every day I can hear the children screaming, running from one end of the house to the other, slamming doors, slamming their hands against the front window. I swear sometimes it sounds like they're running on the walls. After about a year, the whole family disappeared for 2 months. No idea where they went, but it was bliss. They came back and Mum had a brand new born child. The worst in terms of volume was this night. It was 10 p.m. and me and my husband went to bed as we both have work in the morning. Our bedroom is connected to their wall, and all 3 children sounded like they were in the room next to us with their mum and doing their usual nonsense, but it's amplified, and it's so quiet in our house. Around 11 p.m., the dad must have come home, and the kids went ballistic. The screaming, doors slamming, jumping got 10 times worse, to the point our bedroom floor was shaking. My husband had enough and went over to tell him to basically shut up. He wasn't going to shout, he was going to politely tell him, but he didn't get an answer. So he came home and wrote a letter explaining we can hear everything and we have to get up early for work. The next day, in the afternoon, the dad came over and apologized, said he didn't realize we could hear them because they can't hear us. Because we actually care about our decibel levels, and gave me an expired box of Ferrero Rocher. I have conflicted feelings. I do like Ferrero. How expired? To be fair, they were quiet for a bit, but then resumed as normal. As it happens during daytime, I try my best to ignore, though there have been a handful of times we can hear drilling and hammering around 10:30 p.m. at night, which was ridiculous. They also have guests come over most Fridays, and because they bring kids, it gets their kids riled up, and there goes my evening. On the rare occasion when I hear the kids screaming, the mum starts screaming at the top of her lungs at the kids, and honestly, it's funny. Sometimes it's more entertaining than what's on TV. On to non-sound-related complaints. They're just inconsiderate. We once woke up to scaffolding around our windows because they decided to get a new roof, which connects to ours. Thanks for warning us. Their kids are constantly kicking things over into our garden, but they never ask for them back. So I'm being petty and not throwing them back over anymore. Related, they keep kicking balls at our new fence, and I'm tempted to go after the parents if they ever broke it. We had a roof leak last year, and our contractor suggested our roof may have gotten damaged when next door had their roof done, but couldn't be 100% certain. Wouldn't surprise me. As he was fixing it, the dad came over to ask if we were getting a new roof. We said no, just fixing a leak, to which he responded, "Oh, okay, well if you were, I was going to ask if you can make sure it's the same tiles as our roof." Cheeky tosser. Also, this was now the time he decided he wouldn't speak to me anymore. Only wanted to speak to my husband. We have no idea what job the dad does. My husband thought he was a delivery driver because he came to our house one night asking if we wanted this takeaway food, as he couldn't deliver it. But on Google Maps over the years, we've seen their house being an emergency electrician. Now it's currently some storage place for a company situated in Pakistan. Huh. But he's also now a private taxi driver, so I honestly don't know what the hell he does. I know the wife doesn't work. I realize there's far worse neighbors, and maybe my situation isn't so bad. It doesn't sound great. But it felt cathartic to finally vent my frustrations about them. I'm sure there's many more stories about them, but these are the ones that stick in my head the most. Thank you for reading if you got this far. Hellfreezer's note. It is worth noting that if they're making ridiculously loud noise, like above the accepted decibel level, even during the daylight hours before the cutoff, you might have a legit reason to have something done about them. It really depends on how loud they're being overall. You should be able to relax in your own home. And, well, yeah, certainly there's going to be a bit of noise now and again, like if there's essential works and things being performed. It shouldn't be a constant thing. I mean, I've grumbled about my neighbors over the years, but that's not constant. That's never a constant thing. And mostly we're fairly quiet here. Mostly. 5. I really would just like to vent here. I feel like I am steps away from offing myself from the stress and anxiety. Would appreciate kind words from others who understand. So I live in an otherwise very quiet street in a cul-de-sac, in Asia, not the States, in a gated subdivision. Our house is second from the last in the cul-de-sac. When we bought this house, it was super nice, with a great view of the field and mountains. And then a Korean man bought the property next to ours and built a Korean worship center. I think it is a cult, because they would wail all the time, and even at odd hours of the night or early morning. It was fine, though. We got used to the wailing. The problem was when they handed over the worship center to a local congregation. The local congregation would have service every Sunday and would play an actual live band, with drums and electric guitars and an amplifier. Every Sunday morning, we would have no peace. The entire house would be filled with what sounded like a concert, with people all singing and shouting at the top of their lungs, on top of the amplified band. I went to them and politely asked, even begged, to please lower the volume. I was told God will not hear them if they lower the volume, and that I should be thankful because their noise was actually a blessing. I complained to the HOA, but nothing happened. I developed a lot of anxiety because of this, but it has gone on for more than a decade now, and now it's happening 3 times a week, Wednesday nights and Saturday nights as well. I decided I will stop feeling anxious about it and just resorted to blasting brown noise with earphones every time they have their service. This has made my life very sad and restricted. I also work from home, and sometimes it is a pain when trying to catch a deadline and I have to stop working so I could shift my brown noise when their worship comes on. At one point, I resorted to out-shouting them whenever they started shouting, and this probably made the neighbors think I was going mad. Anyway, this is by no means the worst of it. In 2023, another neighbor, this one from across the street from us, decided to move someplace else, build a pool and rent out their place as a party Airbnb, a resort and events place. When it all started, I thought they were just having family parties, but the parties would go on until the early morning hours, very loud music, people shouting, shrieking at the top of their lungs, laughing hysterically, cursing, Other neighbors started reporting this to what is the equivalent of the local police in our area. But it kept happening night after night. Eventually, I joined in calling the police. Excellent. I eventually decided to talk to our former neighbor to beg them to do something, because my elderly mother and I were suffering from poor health and could not afford to lose sleep every night. She made a lot of empty promises, but nothing ever happened. This went on for over a year until someone advised me to contact the local licensing office and report them as an illegal business. At this point, I had also reported them to Airbnb, who actually banned the residents, but they found other ways to advertise and continue their bookings. Finally, after the licensing office took action, the party stopped. At the end of it, I was a nervous wreck. Imagine not being able to sleep at night and having to work in the day, and then having to call the police almost every day or contact the bad neighbor who would continue making empty promises and even gaslighting me. At one point, she actually had the audacity to offer to pay for renovating my windows because she said the problem was not their noise. The problem was our windows were too thin, she said. I told her we were doing fine for many decades before they moved in. She also tried to convince me I was imagining things. I showed her videos I took from the street, and she actually threatened to sue me for taking videos. I told her the videos were not taken of inside her property, but just of the street, just to record the noise. It was all horribly stressful. What also irked me was I went around to talk to the other neighbors and try to mobilize them so we could all write a letter to the mayor or municipal hall. The neighbors here are very cold towards each other. Nobody knows or talks to the other neighbors. Nobody says hi to anyone. I don't even know what their faces are. It did not used to be like this. We used to have friendly, warm, kind neighbors we got along with. Some of them passed away and some moved away. Now all the neighbors here are cold and mean. I was able to talk to two people who both admitted they are also calling the police to complain of the noise, but said they were not willing to go beyond that, and that I should just do it on my own and file a complaint, which I eventually was forced to do. But it made me feel really cold and sad, and now after more than a year of blissful quiet, the parties have started up again. I was so traumatized by the first night it happened, I started shaking violently. I resorted to my brown noise and rain-safe place, but I feel like now I have to almost live there, like my ears are going to go bad from the brown noise. I feel like all the neighbors here are not good people. I actually talked about this problem with the member of the HOA who was collecting my monthly dues, and they actually were cold to me about it. Apparently they were friends with the owner of the Airbnb resort. I just feel very isolated in a hostile environment. I know this is just external circumstances, but this is probably one of the hardest to deal with. Not being able to sleep at night and not being able to enjoy your own home in peace and quiet. I want to manifest being able to move in a good house in a much better neighborhood with my mother, but I am financially strapped and have no choice but to stay here. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to Naughty Neighbours episode 39. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. Before you go, please do hit the like button and subscribe if you'd be so good. If you'd like to support the channel, you can do that by signing up for my Patreon page. That's linked for you in the description. $1 or more a month is super helpful, and it helps pay the bills around here and keeps the channel going for as long as we can. Right, let's see. I don't think we have any other business today, so let's move on to Hellfreezer's question of the day. And today's question is: when was the last time you had a moment where you realized, I guess I take that for granted? Because I'm thinking, in the last story there, I don't know what kind of windows the person in the story has, but it did occur to me that, I guess I take for granted that my house has double glazing, which actually does do a lot to keep noise out. And I suppose there's houses in the world that just don't have that. So, let me know what you think. When was the last time you had one of those moments? Let me know what you think in a comment below. And before we go, let's take a look at the answer of the day from a previous video. And today's answer comes from Naughty Neighbours, episode 38. And this question was a food you could eat every day continuously, but you don't because you're smart and you know it would be unhealthy for you. And today's answer comes from, let's see, who's today's answer? Victor Valdez, going with the Golden Girls option. Cheesecake is not just great on its own. Oh, it is so good, isn't it? But there's so many ways you can vary it. I've seen strawberry, chocolate, blueberry. I've seen cheesecake with cookie dough in and on it. On the downside, way too much sugar and cholesterol. You're absolutely right, Victor, which is something that I need to lower, so I'll have to resist the urge to go get some cheesecake now, even though you made me want it, and it's all your fault. Very, very naughty. In fact, one of the most yummy cheesecakes I had, my mouth is watering as I'm talking about this, that's wonderful, it was a Millionaire's cheesecake, which is a layer of caramel and chocolate on top of it. It was so, so good. And I think there was little crunchy bits as well. Speaking of the Golden Girls, thank you for your answer, Victor Valdez. Speaking of the Golden Girls, I recently came across a TV show called Urban Modern. Is that it? Nathan Lane and Johnny White Collar guy? Matt Bomer, that's it. Completely forgot his name for a second. Matt Bomer. And also other people whose names I'm forgetting. And I tried watching it the other week, and I was like, I'm just not feeling this. It feels kind of fake. But a few days ago, I was lying in bed, completely unable to get to sleep, because I had an appointment that day, and I've got this weird thing where if I've got an appointment, my body just does not let itself rest, which is fun, so much fun. Anyway, I was laying in bed, I couldn't sleep. I was okay, I don't want to get up. I want to just kind of lay here and hopefully I'll eventually drift off, so I'll watch something. So I grabbed my phone, and I thought, okay, we'll go on to Disney, and then I saw that there again. I was like, okay, I'm going to give it another chance. And after I got by the bit, literally after I got by the bit that was annoying me, like the very introduction, I started chuckling. I was, this is actually funny. And sad to say, I was 10 minutes into it before I realized, this is quite literally just the Golden Girls with three gay men and one of their mothers. And it is. It's just the Golden Girls with gay men. And I'm about 8 episodes in so far. I'm enjoying it. Unfortunately, I was looking, and one of the lady that plays the mother character passed away quite recently, so I'm wondering what they're going to end up doing with that come the second season. But yeah, so I've been enjoying that, and if you get the chance to watch it, it is worth getting past the first episode, because it's quite endearing, and it's quite a comforting show. Okay, and with that, I'm going to stop rambling and head off for now. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves.